something that starts to bridge that gap between what you're doing in your personal ritual and what you do in public ritual, and that is the props and the things that you wear and kind of we're going to start talking about the theater that you start to put on as you do rituals. And we start talking about ritual and theater and things like this. Don't think of theater as a dirty word at all when it comes to ritual. Because, quite frankly, when you're going to do ritual, and you're going to provide it, especially publicly, but even privately to yourself, it is important to understand how people interact with not only themselves and others, but with the sacred too. So, what I want to talk about first, though, is ritual clothing, jewelry, and props, because they become fairly important. When we start talking about intentional movement and things like that, we'll talk about how what you wear is important when you stand up in public ritual. And I think it's important too because a lot of us have what's known as pagan bling. All that stuff that you wear, and your myriad of magical rings and your hubcap-sized pentacle and all that stuff. I've seen it all. Trust me. But there are a couple of things that are important to remember for everyone when they start thinking about how to accessorize their Druidry or their paganism. The first thing is that Druidry and paganism in general really is a fire religion. Be careful of what you wear. If you wear a nylon robe with sleeves down to here and you lean over a fire, you're going to regret that very quickly.
Nylon sticks to the skin.
Yes.
It's horrible.
If you want to know when we found that out as a real problem, let me know. I'll be happy to tell you about it. It's a World War II story.
Let's just say stop, drop, and packed.
Yes. So the other thing, though, so try not to have droopy sleeves. What is it? Wizard's first rule: people are stupid. Wizard's second rule: don't wear sleeves down to here. When you bring things out to put them on your working table, place them deliberately. Don't just toss your ritual tools out, but show them respect and show them that you've had some thought behind where you're placing things. Because, again, ritual is about orientation. Religion itself is about orientation. Knowing where things are, providing direction to things, even inanimate things, is something that can help aid you as you dive deeper into the religious experience. If there's not a place for it, don't place it, or make a place for it. If you don't need it, don't bring it out. You don't have to have clutter on your altar or on your table. It's just, only pull out what is necessary. Matching clothing and props provide a signpost for authority. You go to Wellspring, you're going to see a bunch of druids wearing white robes. And the reason for that is because when we all dress similarly, people actually think we know what we're talking about. It may or may not be true, but when you're in ritual, you have to be able to present that sort of ritual authority.
It also helps with the alteration of consciousness.
It does.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Things that are similar are important. Homogeneity is important in ritual.
Remember that these are visual signposts that you're doing, just like with ringing the bell. That's a signpost to move everybody through the ritual, as Kirk said earlier. So visually, it's a signpost. Those people are in charge here.
Well, it's also engaging your other sense of touch.
Absolutely.
Change your clothes, you're setting your mind.
All of that.
Yep.
Also, when you dress, you don't want to, you're separating yourself for the ritual. You don't want somebody coming up to you and talking to you about something mundane at that time, because you're...
Indeed, if you are dressed for ritual, people will assume that you are doing ritual, even if you haven't started yet.
And you remember the root for sacred becomes the Proto-European sec, to cut away, to separate. That's part of it.
Yep. Scarlett?
Yourself in sacred space.
Yes. Please do make it first.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
If you're not presenting, you still should dress, or if you're
I've always assumed that you should only dress if you're in the ritual.
No, not at all. It is part of dressing is not just about projecting authority to others. It's about projecting authority to yourself.
I should already have that.
You should.
Within myself, I should
But
already have. I
this
shouldn't
is
need a
this is
robe
not
to tell me.
about trying to fool yourself or anything like that. This is about having something special that carries with it a certain meaning. And that meaning, when you put something on, for instance, when I put on this necklace or when I put on my stole as a priest, the stole doesn't make me a priest.
Any
But
more
this-
than a wedding dress makes you a bride.
Exactly, and I look very good.
He was a fetching bride, I must say.
Right, exactly. So, but when I put on that stole, it transforms the way that I am thinking. It gives me a new voice to speak with.
Okay, now I
Because-
see that part.
Yeah.
But when I put on my token, I do change my form of thinking. But I
Right.
don't necessarily need a robe to change my thinking.
It's Dumbo's feather in many ways.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't need it, but it is helpful. And there's nothing wrong with it being helpful. And all these props, you can think about them as crutches or you can think about them as tools. I prefer to think about them as tools because they're things that we consciously use to change the way that we are thinking.
The perspective that we're actually trying to
Like,
absorb.
another one is that we're all in this
Solid.
together.
This is also like.
It's not ritualist versus
It's a
audience.
uniform.
It's all of us.
I tend to think of it as if you're together and you're in a group, and you don't know somebody, then you can create a group of consciousness.
Exactly.
Well, enter into
Absolutely,
one
that's what I mean.
aspect.
We'll also talk a little bit about this when we get to intentional movement, the importance of dressing alike. So.
Well, Anna gave me a robe when she gave me a robe, and I've only worn it once. And when I went into the ritual with that robe, I felt no different.
Okay. Well,
But I will tell you this, people left me alone. They didn't come up because they thought I had something to do with it.
it will change the way that people interact with you if you dress like part of the group. But it's only through building a connection, which we'll get to in a moment, with a particular ritual piece that will change the way that you think.
Do you have a magic clipboard?
No.
I do. And I take it everywhere I want to go. And I walk through any door I want to. And they assume I'm there because I have a clipboard.
It's exactly the same thing. So one of the
You're in
things.
briefcase?
So do you have a to-do list with the same 4 items on it, just leave it on the clipboard to walk around?
Yeah. And and then like a call Joe and a scratch mark.
I've got one of those.
And like sometimes I'll look up at the ceiling and point.
The power of writing something down is amazing around.
I don't know who that guy is. He might be an inspector.
ID badges that don't actually have your ID on them are pretty good too. Anyway, pagan bling. So all this stuff that we wear it only if you need it. Don't wear stuff out of habit because it starts to lose its power. Don't wear stuff because it's cool to wear it because it won't have any. Wear it because it means something to you and because it has a use to you. Pack things into bags so you can find them without fumbling. I can't tell you how many people have gotten all the way up to the altar to make a praise offering and couldn't open the bottle that they were trying to get into or their praise offering is at the bottom of their purse. And they stand there and they fumble around with it for a very long time while Missy continues to play and repeats the song again and again and plays the bridge again. And it's wonderful having a talented bard who can do that, but it would be so much more wonderful if the person just knew where their stuff was.
Or get bloody incense to light.
Be sensitive for people who have different feelings than you. Yes, we know that there are symbols that have been used by other groups that were not necessarily using them well. There are plenty of symbols like this. Not all symbols need to be reclaimed, and it's very difficult to reclaim some. And some of them, yes, swastikas are a particular one. You know, it's a wonderful ancient symbol, but to use it today is not
Acceptable.
Acceptable.
It is a problem. I won't necessarily go so far as to say that it is not acceptable. If you have a closed working group,
Oh, in public.
yes, if you have a closed working group and everyone knows what's going on, that is very different than wearing something like that in public. ADF doesn't do the swastika thing and probably never will. I actually, there's an essay called Law, Policy, and Tradition in ADF. And it ticks off a whole bunch of things. And one of the things that Isaac had written in that essay was swastikas are not allowed. And then he had something that was, but if they are very small and you can't see them in public ritual, and I before he died, I sent him a note and I said, Isaac, I think it's about time that we revised this essay and just took that out. And he wrote back to me and he says, yes, you're absolutely right. I don't know what I was thinking when I wrote that in. So we pulled it out, and it's no longer part of that document.
Just don't do things that's going to be inflammatory to
Exactly.
other people.
Make sure that especially when you're public ritual, you're respecting the understandings and associations that others have. You can't please everyone, but there are certain things that you can avoid in order to help others deal with the issues. Yes.
So what you're saying is use common sense.
Use common sense. Exactly.
Well, don't run up to somebody in full pagan druid attire and grab something that they're wearing and start playing with it.
Right.
Isn't that pretty? Yeah, you're going to lose a hand.
Now, one of the things that you should do with all of your tools is bless them. You should bless them with symbols that have meaning to you. So if leaving your a candle out under the full moon has meaning to you, if that will charge it, in your opinion, then that is something that you should do. If you wanted to build a servitor and invest that item with a servitor, you could do that. Anything I can get Missy to throw horns on is good.
You want to open the eyes of your idols.
Yes.
Yeah.
Opening the eyes of your idols, exactly. And then one of the things that is useful to think about when you think about tools is giving them the right to do work on your behalf. To give them sort of that animation, that spirit that allows them to do the work that you want them to do is something that is very powerful. Now, one of the things that Seamus and I in particular do, and we've run this exercise before with the Grove, I asked everyone to bring something that is a ritual tool of theirs. So everyone here doesn't have one? We can come up with one for you. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to pray to these tools. And we're going to allow someone else also to pray to our tool. So what we're going to do is very simple. The aim of this is to pray to the item that the other person has, and to speak to it as a ritual tool that has power in this world. This is all about understanding what the tool is used for, the kinds of things that it does. If it has a name, it's good to tell the other person that name. Because remember, we talked about praying before and the kinds of things that you might want to do. You could do something adoratory, or you could do something that gives thanks. So that's actually my tool that you got. I'm going to demonstrate with Seamus here. And then you actually pull all of them out in your hand. You can. Pull those stuff.
Are you referring to my tiny hands?
I am. I heard they were tiny. So this is a set of runes that I have made out of grapevines as part of my initiatory work and things like that. I've used them for a very long time. And so we're going to pray to the spirit of the item, thank it for the help that it has given the person who holds it, and ask that it continue that way. So, and this is why I said, make sure it's something that you don't mind someone else touching.
I should have run like that.
You should have. From the center of the sacred room, the center of myself. These runes I lay my hands upon. I call out to them, and I thank them for the work that they have done, for the omens they have brought, for the blessings they have foretold, for the work that they have given. All these things are wonderful. May they continue their work. May they deepen their work. May their voice be heard through all the cosmos.
To this stole, the stole of ADF clergy, I call out to you in thanks and in honor for the work that you have done, for the guidance that you have provided, to the symbolism that you are, to the folk, to the land, to the shining ones. Let you continue to be a symbol for all those who see it. May Michael, who wears us, also be a symbol and a beacon unto the world for all the work that he does with this. May it be good work. May it be honorable work. And may he be a beacon unto the world. So be it.
As you pray to these items, as you watch others pray to your items, think about how you feel about this item as it is prayed to. As you're praying, speak as it comes to your mind. Don't worry about being embarrassed about what you're saying. Remember, this isn't your stuff anyway. But think very clearly on what this thing means to that person, what it does for them. You might want to discuss a little bit about the item to the person who's going to be praying over it so they understand it. But yeah, this is all about that spirit within. So take a moment, understand the other person's object, have them introduce it to you, and once you've got a good feel for it, pray to that object and ask them how they feel about that. That's done. So have at it.